Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
This is the smell of the leftover tuna fish sandwich you left in your lunchbox over the weekend in a wimpy trash bag.
Wimpy, wimpy, wimpy!
Blech! And this is the smell of that same sandwich in a hefty, ultra-strong trash bag.
Hefty, hefty, hefty!
Smell the difference? Hefty Ultra Strong has Arm & Hammer with continuous odor control, so no matter what's inside your trash, you can stay one step ahead of stinky. And for bigger jobs, try the superior strength of Hefty Large Black Bags.
All right, before we get started today, just want to give a shout out to all the listeners for keeping this show going and growing. And if you are a listener, this is free, right? And it'll always be free, right? But just do me a favor. If you like the show, if you're listening, you probably like the show, or you're just a glutton for punishment and want to hear my stupid voice and accent. But please share it. Wherever you listen, share it with friends, coworkers, leave a review or a rating. You know, sometimes it's just the stars. Sometimes you can write words, whatever. But wherever you listen, leave a review, share the show, and and subscribe and like and all that stuff. All right, appreciate that. If you want to further support the show, check us out at patreon.com/bigtruth. There's way more options for how you can support the show and get exclusives and discounts and exclusive content and stuff. So check that out. If you have a blank space on the wall, right, and you need to fill that with some art, you need to check out Tattoo Flash Collective. They supply Tattoo Flash, the tattoo shops, but they also supply Tattoo Flash, prints, artwork, books on art and stuff to people for their houses, for your office, for your band's practice space, you know, your garage, whatever. So you want some rad art, check out Tattoo Flash Collective over at tattooflashcollective.com. If you use the promo code BIGTRUTH at checkout, you will get 10% off your order. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, you get even more off. So you gotta sign up to get that one. So if you are a Patreon subscriber, check it out. I made a post about that. There's another promo code for you where you get even more off. If you are into motorcycles, check out my shop, chopahead.com is the website. If you're not local, if you're local, it's a brick and mortar shop. So come on in. I get so many mail orders from people that live in the same town or the town over or like in a 10-minute radius. Just come by. We're open for business every day. It's a brick and mortar motorcycle shop. Come on in. We got a parts counter, a showroom, and a big shop out back. We do a full service motorcycle shop, anything from an oil change to a full custom build, everything in between, speed work, motor work, fucking whatever you need. So check us out. Chop Ahead Custom Cycles, 13 County Road, East Freetown, Massachusetts. We got a bunch of swag online. If you want to get some good gear, you know, some motorcycle and punk rock related gear, check us out. www.chopahead.com, spelt in the most massholes of way, which is CHOPPAHEAD. On Instagram, we're at Chop Ahead. And on Facebook, we're at Chop Ahead Customs, and Customs with a K. We just want to throw everyone for a loop and make it harder for everyone to find us. But without further ado, we're going to get into today's episode. I know some people might be tied to whatever religious faith they have. So approach this one with an open mind. Tune in right now. My man Adam coming on right now.
Sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have a liftoff.
Yes. Once again, we have liftoff. I want to thank you for tuning into this episode of the Big Truth Podcast. And I'm stoked to have my man Adam Ostrofsky here. Ostrofsky, Adam Dodge, however you want to do it. AKA You probably know him as the Satanic Chef. And we're recording live on the extra table here at Chophead because all the motorcycle lifts are full. And we got a special guest, Jack. Jack is his dog, 5-year-old.
He's 5 years old.
All right, so if you hear some howls in the background, that's just Jack chiming in.
Oh yeah, he likes to talk.
He does. It was crazy when we were on the phone earlier and you're like, Jack talking, he just fucking started going. I was like, damn, dude, I wish I had a dog to talk on command. That's a funny.
Hey, it kept me busy during COVID.
Oh, were you teaching him that stuff during COVID?
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah, man.
It's the only thing I interacted with.
Yeah, again, wild times of a wild 3-year period. But so, I mean, you're an author. Are you still doing a podcast? Or you still doing that?
I'm going to start up again.
Okay.
Either through the Satanic Temple TV or I'm going to go also on YouTube at the same time simultaneously. I have to be careful what I post on YouTube because it's all regulated.
Okay. Is it just like the content? But you think they're really going to? What would you be doing? Would you be doing a chef related thing, or more of just a general Satanism thing?
More of the Satanic Chef doing that live. I'm planning to do one live in Alston at the Model Cafe.
Nice. There you go. The Model.
Yeah.
Anyone in Boston, if you've never been kicked out of the Model, then you really weren't part of the Boston punk or hardcore scene.
Exactly.
Everyone's got kicked out at least once or got at least one fight there. Well, you don't have to get kicked out, but if you haven't been there and you haven't gotten any altercation, then, But if you do know the Model, then you know what's up in Boston. One of the last of the old guard bars that are still around.
Our buddy Kenny works there.
Nice.
That's who's get me in there.
Now, so what would YouTube have against a cooking show?
Well, the Bible burning.
Okay. Well, yeah.
It could be promoting hate against a religion.
Okay.
And that I understand, but it's hard to get around the algorithm because then it already gets reported and you can't really fight that. So you have to find a way around that. Especially book burning can also be a problem too because that promotes fascism in some countries, and other countries will automatically flag you for that, like Germany.
So are you burning books to cook food?
I do during the middle of the performance.
Oh, do you? All right.
I lit like 150 Bibles on fire at least. I've got burn marks in my hands from them and everything. Like, you see that? Like,
oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
he's showing me
plastic that burns off the Bibles. It's cheap. It's toxic.
Yeah. So we already lost a bunch of listeners, and if you stay on, like, fuck yeah, dude, just give it out. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, a couple of reasons, we got a lot of shared friends and background coming out of the Boston scene, and then also like the whole your journey on being a chef and overcoming alcoholism stuff. Like your book is super interesting, and the whole satanic angle is something I don't know much about. Like I was saying, I know enough to be dangerous, you know what I mean? And to not have some of the misconceptions that some people have, you know what I mean? But I think it's kind of important. Like, I'd like to understand more about it just from, just an anthropological perspective or whatever. I'm always interested in learning about things. I know that world is probably something where there's a lot of misinformation or
100%.
Representation, so it'd be good to hear from you, like kind of what it means to you and in the what you're affiliated with, like, and I know there's probably different, like the same way, like with any religion, there's different sets of Christianity, different sense of Hinduism, I'm sure there's different worlds within the general guise of Satanism, but like hear more about you and your perspective and what you guys are involved in.
Okay.
Over at the temple. And if you haven't been in Salem, Massachusetts, you guys have that, the Satanic Temple there. And I know it got some super national attention, a few years ago, because there's like a life-size or bigger than life-size Baphomet statue with like children and
still there.
Yeah. People like getting their pictures taken on it like Santa, like fucking
every day.
They've
got a little thing you can put your phone on and take a selfie.
Oh, it's that dialed in now where you can do like, yeah, just put your phone right here. It's all dialed in. The lighting's good. The lighting's correct. Fucking
got some nice lights in there for it.
There you go. So yeah, I mean, tell me a little bit about like well, not me, but like me and the listeners a little bit about your background and how you found your way into like. I mean, so full disclosure, I just literally finished your book today. Like I picked up the phone and you had texted like, "Oh, we're gonna do this," and I'm like, I literally just put the book down. Like, and
that's incredible.
It's just, it's just what's that? The synchronicity.
That's what I was just about to say.
Yeah, yeah. So, I know the book was mostly about your journey, but I found also like the whole world of culinary arts to be like, that whole culture is fucking bananas. Like, you know what I mean? And
insane.
I know, and it's like, me and Packer have the bar and we have a kitchen now, and it's like nowhere near what like an actual restaurant would be, because all we're doing is one thing, bar pizza. Like, so it's a lot easier and less hectic. But man, I didn't know that there was so much ego and fucking craziness and fucking like bullying, like, for lack of a better word, so much fucking bullshit that fucking line cooks and fucking chefs and fucking everybody fucking deal with, man. That's a wacky fucking world. But what got you interested in wanting to be like a chef? Like where did that drive come from?
Watching my mother cook growing up. I was in a photography program at Bradford College.
Okay.
And I was doing acting there as well. I'd been in some plays in high school. I was the lead, Judas, and like Godspell and shit. And the college closed while I was going there.
It's crazy.
Yeah. There was also this rumor that H.P. Lovecraft dated a woman, because it used to be a women's school, that was going there. And he tried to curse her by burying one of his copies in the Necronomicon under there. So it's got this weird like vibe to it already.
Yeah, yeah.
Fitting into the northern Massachusetts kind of spookiness. But then I ended up going to Newbury College. While I was there, there's a culinary program. I got hit by a car like right before my end of my first semester. I was trying to really get into it already about, moving to a new school after mine had closed, and lost my family of friends there. They'd all scattered throughout the country. And it kind of made me think, I'm sitting at home. I can't use my leg at all for almost a year, probably more. Who knows if I'm going to be able to walk again at this point. It shattered my leg in like 3 different places. Compartment syndrome, fasciotomy happened where I had to remove diamond-sized parts in my skin. It was exposed for weeks. I ended up getting staph infections that they found out later.
That's the worst.
I almost, I could have died from it. And
could have lost your leg too. Like, even if you didn't die, you could have lost your leg.
Yeah.
That's gross. That staph is, it's so fucked up that no one in the world gets staph unless you go to a hospital.
It's true.
It's fucking crazy, right?
It's because it's the dirtiest place in the world.
Yeah, yeah. It's wild, man.
It must have been from my being recovering over there and them changing the bandages, and it probably just lingers in the air or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I know someone's going to correct. I know people get staph outside of hospitals. It's just anytime I've heard of staph, it's from a hospital.
It is. It's easier to get a blood poisoning from a hospital than it is to get in person.
Yeah, it's wild.
But I
because it makes sense. No one's at the hospital because they're doing awesome. You know what I mean?
I know. You just got to be careful.
Yeah.
It's the last resort. Take care of yourself. A lot of the drive for becoming a chef was sitting at home and watching people cook. Basically, my friend gave me Goodfellas on a DVD, and I'm watching that scene where all Ray Liotta, they're all in jail, they're all making the sauce.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the only thing I know how to fucking do. I'm watching The Sopranos. I was given season 1 and 2 on DVD. Yeah. I'm like, this Artie Bucco guy, they're all eating all this amazing food. I need to get out of bed and make something like that.
Fuck yeah.
So
I'm actually, I started rewatching Sopranos just like a few weeks ago. Like,
really?
I haven't watched it since it like first came out. And it's like, I'm like in season, I'm getting into season 3 right now. So it's funny.
Fucking love that show. I watched it like 15 times all over.
What's the weirdest thing is I literally haven't watched it since it came out.
No kidding. So it's like you're rewatching it. You forgot about all this.
Yeah, you remember a lot of things, but you forgot a lot of things. But the thing that's blown my mind is how much technology has changed. Mm-hmm. Because it's set in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And they're all like on pagers and like flip phones are just coming out, and but it looks modern because it's still filmed well. So it doesn't look like an old TV show or an old movie, but it's like, damn man, like that was fucking a long time ago. It doesn't like in my head, The Sopranos doesn't seem like it was fucking 20 something years ago.
100%.
But it is like, it's fucking wild, man. It's wild.
It's probably one of the best shows that have ever been on TV. I think the screenplay writing and the treatment was very much up there with something like William Shakespeare's Macbeth. It's just very, very good to like look at the depth at the character of Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
And like break him down. Even to this day, it was so complex.
And it holds up. Like you're saying, like I think we were saying, it was like, I'm like watching it. I'm like, this is still as fucking compelling and good, and all the character development, like all of them, all the characters are fucking good characters. It's wild.
100%. And you have to take a second back and be like, James Gandolfini was not like this, but he could turn on this character.
Yeah.
And there he was. And it's still to this fucking day, I have to like remind myself that's an actual person.
Yeah. Well, so it's funny that you say that because like my bro Slane worked with Gandolfini on a movie and was like, it's so weird because you look at him and it's like, that's Tony Soprano, but like he's like in real life was such like a good dude.
100%.
And like, it was like, he was like he gave Slane all kinds of advice and like kind of took him under his wing and was like, hey, you know, he was like the best dude.
Really compassionate human being taken from us way too soon.
Yeah. Like imagine what that guy would have done after that. Oh, you know what? Or could he though? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's tough. Like I think he would have had a hard time doing a lot of other stuff. Like, cause it was so iconic.
It really was.
Unless he changed physically enough, it would be hard for him to do some other shit, I think.
He was doing that movie with Julia Dreyfus, As Good as It Gets, I think, something like that. Is that what it?
I know what you're talking about. I didn't see it.
But he was trying to outchange that character. And if he was still alive, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a reunion show or something.
Yeah, yeah.
But the whole character of Tony Soprano is just, he's basically the ultimate satanic character. If you look at it, you look at somebody like Anton LaVey.
Yeah.
And him, he's basically living kind of the same ideas in life and just everything about him and the way he worked. So you can respect that also about Tony Soprano. Tony Soprano had compassion where everybody else did not. And he had to make executive decisions which were painful for him as well as his own personal life. And that's Jack in the background.
Jack's chiming in. You agree? You agree, buddy?
Forced to watch all that like 3 times already.
It's funny because he's sitting here pressed against my leg and I'm just petting him and he's just chiming in.
He's such a good boy. This dog is the best thing that ever came into my life. Come here, baby.
Dogs rule. Rule.
Like, watching the chef, Artie Bucco, he had so many problems like every other chef. You could tell now, like watching it as an older adult, like what those problems were, like the burnout and everything like that. That, he could have been great, but he wasn't. He did these things. He has self-regret. You could see that in his eyes. But being a 20-year-old kid that's laid up, I saw a guy that wanted to make food. And I wanted to be like a chef because of that character. And that's why I enrolled in culinary school. I did not know how to cook at all. I ended up going in 2002, and the first thing they did was they made me julienne, or small dice, like 100 pounds of onions, literally 100 pounds of onions. It was for the dining hall that they had. And those are some of my early memories of doing basic skills.
So was that just to kind of almost develop muscle memory on how to do that upright?
100%.
Get faster and better and
they were tough.
Efficient.
They were tough at the time. People could yell at you if they were your instructor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You had to shave. You had to wear a uniform. There were kids that were coming in there that were, obviously they had been through a lot. They were tough as nails, but they went in there, they were broken down. And that's the first time I ever saw people like that.
Yeah.
Growing into the passion for being, a chef, you have to start from the beginning. I applied everywhere. Nobody wanted to hire me. You have no experience. You could start as an intern someday, but you need to go out there and work someplace shitty.
Yeah.
And I was like, uh-oh. So I went up and down Route 9 and then gave my resume to every chain restaurant until Chili's hired me.
There you go.
And I worked there for almost a year. But it was important looking back on it. Not only did I work at Chili's, which is awesome, but it taught me how to speed up and, really make things executable at that speed.
Yeah.
You don't get that if you're going to work in a Michelin-starred restaurant. You're working at one speed and plating. And then when you go and do something like that later on in your career, you can't execute as fast as you want to. And that's when you start making mistakes. You lose your job. You think you're not good enough. And that's when the mental problems start coming in. So I'm glad I did that at that time.
Plus, that probably gives you an insight on the differences between like a corporate type and food environment versus a privately owned.
100%. 100%. And that restaurant closed. The floor fucking caved in.
That's wild.
Fruit flies came up all over the restaurant inside and infected everything. They had to throw everything out. I took home like boxes of shit, egg rolls, but I also took home like mixing bowls and whatever I could get my hands on because they were just, we have to throw this away. It's going in that dumpster that's out back.
Yeah.
So I was home.
They didn't give a shit if you took it, right? Because it was just free up space in the dumpster for them to throw the other shit away. They were probably happy if you took it, right?
They were so happy. The managers were just like, I'm so sorry. Just take whatever the fuck you want. Take this box of fucking steaks.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, great. This is amazing. I have all this food. I don't know what to do with. You were living with my parents at the time.
All
like,
your friends loved you that week. You're like, yeah, man, here's some steaks.
Pretty much.
Or egg rolls or whatever, yeah.
Chicken wings, whatever I got my fingers on.
Fuck yeah, man.
And I'm sitting at home. I'm like, I need to do better than this. So I went on the internet and, I looked around and I looked in the Boston Globe because that's how you would get a job.
Back then, yeah.
You go in the back pages. There's something for Blue Ginger, a Wellesley restaurant that was in Wellesley. It was owned by a celebrity chef by Ming Tsai. Now, I discovered that this guy was the owner after that ad. I had no idea that this guy that I was watching on TV was the owner of this restaurant in Massachusetts. So when I went in for my interview, I told them where I was coming from. And the chef there, John, he's like, yeah, well, before I worked here a couple of years before, I did the same thing pretty much. But you're going to learn things. And the job that I was applying for was a line cook. And afterwards, they were like, you need more experience before we give you this job. So this is what we have to offer you. It's an internship. It's $6.50 an hour for only 40 hours of the week. You're going to work 100 to 120 hours. Are you prepared for that physically? I know you had this accident. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And I went in, I had another interview with the owner, and he was like, giving me the same deal. Like, I understand you were doing this for the sauté position. Well, this is what we have to offer you. Do you want it or not? I looked up at him and I'm like, yes, sir. He's like, okay, great. Thank you so much. They'll send you out the door. We'll be looking forward to you working on Monday or something like that. So that's how it began. That's how I learned how to work in fine dining, work your way up from the beginning. Yeah. I went through some issues there I had mentioned in the book in the beginning with another intern. But as far as I'm concerned, that was one of the most important parts of my career. I left there and I went and worked at Celle de la Terre, which is the #1 French restaurant in Boston. It was a sister restaurant at L'Espalier. Now, if you worked at L'Espalier, you were tough as fucking nails. Nobody would mess with you. It was the place where plates were getting thrown at your head. If you didn't have them perfect, you had to keep your mouth shut. Couldn't say anything during service. It was treated so serious. People, politicians, Mick Jagger, Bowie, all these people were coming in there. And that was the whole world of fine dining. So this is the beginning stages of that. I worked there for almost a year. During that time, my family, my parents are coming back from like Foxwoods or something like that. And they got hit in the highway by a drunk driver. And they took them months to recover. And during that time, I was supposed to move to California, but I didn't. I stayed with them, and I also stayed working because I knew at that point this is an opportunity to work through your grief because nobody's going to teach you that if you go off to a culinary school. Where I was going in California was California Culinary Academy. So I'm telling everybody back home, they're all rooting for me to go there. As soon as I get off the plane, there's someone shooting up in the parking lot and taking a dump at the same time.
Welcome to San Francisco. It didn't, and not much has changed. It's only got worse. Now there's like 5 guys doing it, like instead of 1
on every block in front of every house.
Yeah.
So, as a culinary student going in there, I had experience, I had a resume. I could show it to my instructors, and I'm like, I'm here to sharpen my knives and make myself be better.
Yeah.
And it was tough because I had to start all over again from the beginning. Yeah. And I accepted that.
That's what I was going to say is there's so much, like, what I noticed is like, it's like how the tattoo world or other, like this is stuff I talked about on podcasts, where the motorcycle world used to be. Like, there was a lot of paying dues.
There is.
And there still is, but it seems like I didn't realize how much fucking dudes, like, it's fucking wild, dude, like the shit you went through with some of these spots, like
crazy.
And it's like anytime you got somewhere else, it didn't matter what your resume was. It was almost like you started again.
All the time. Every single fucking
and they're like,
place.
Fuck you piece of shit. Like, fucking, this is what you do. And like, you're nothing. And or there was one place they wouldn't even hire you because you had experience. Yeah. And they're like, oh, you're already fucked up. We want people that don't know anything.
That's true. They wouldn't hire me. They're like, you're not green enough. I'm like, what do you mean?
It's just wild. Yeah.
It was when I wanted to move back to the Bay. They're like, no, you need to be right out of culinary school, really dumb, thinking that you're going to get into this. And I want to fuck with your ego, and your ego's already broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you want to work here, we can arrange something, but I don't know if that's going to happen because that's not what we are looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like psychological warfare. Like,
really fucking
working in all these kitchens, man. Like,
kids that that you've seen that are the toughest kids in town walking into a place and just being told you're a nobody. Yeah. You're a number that you punch into that fucking computer. Yeah. And even if you get on salary, you better believe that you're something, but you're still nobody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And it's like, I've seen people that were, they were something in their own personal lives, but they were just someone that kept their head down and their mouth shut. Yeah. It's all it's about is being humble.
And the other thing too is like how one person leaving, like I forgot the guy's name that you worked with. And then like one person leaves and it changes the whole.
It changed the
vibe of like the kitchen or like
the whole dynamic of the family.
Whole dynamic of the whole place. Yeah.
It was it was my dear friend Louis. He had left and immediately it was replaced. And I didn't want to do it. It just wasn't my thing, man. Yeah, you got to stay with the family that you choose. You can't join into a new family, especially the one you've been working for, and start all over again. And that's when I learned that you need to suck that up and move on. Yeah. And that's when I started doing other things. And I kept doing this for years. I'd start over as a line cook somewhere when I was well equipped to become a chef somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
I did that until I was in my 40s almost. Yeah. I was an executive chef of places making pennies. I did this for learning. I was a sous chef somewhere. I made okay money, but it wasn't enough to get by in Massachusetts. I was a sous chef someplace right before the pandemic. None of these, I was trying to get into corporate things because I wanted extra cash to put on my pop-ups that I was doing, satanic shit. Yeah. But all those companies were like, I think a little scared of what I was personally. And I probably divulged information on my resume. Like, I am the satanic chef. And they probably were like, no, we don't want
we don't want the satanic chef.
No.
But it's funny to me, like how from a young age, you knew that that's what you wanted to do. You wanted to be the satanic chef.
I did.
And you just paid dues till you got to the point where you could.
I did
do that. It's fucking.
I wanted to be like what I saw on the Food Network. All these voyeuristic, chefs that are doing all these demonstrations, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. Yeah, it's become a really cool thing that I'm building.
Yeah, so we could talk more about that stuff, chef stuff, as you go. But like, this would be a good point for you to maybe. Because obviously some of your career was stunted because people had misconceptions of what a satanic chef is. You know what I mean? Jack's roaming around.
Jack's being naughty. He's trying to get his nose into something.
Yeah, yeah. But why don't we, tell me a little bit about the Satanism that you kind of subscribe to or envelop, and like what's the tenets of that? Like, and what are the misconceptions, or we don't even necessarily have to get into misconceptions. I think everyone has a preconceived notion of what they think that is. But why don't you just kind of talk a little bit about the philosophy of it and, the tenets of it? Like, because I don't know anything about it. You know what I mean? It'd be interesting to hear.
The only Satanism that I knew of was what was and publicized Church of Satan. So the Satanic Bible came out. I read it, and I was also reading Siddhartha at the same time, which is about your individuality as a human being.
Sure.
How you got to stand up for that and be yourself.
What made you pick up that Satanic Bible? Was this when you were a kid, probably?
Yeah.
Because everyone, I think I had the Necronomicon, and everyone had like we were looking for weird knowledge, it was like weird shit. You know what I mean?
It was like we call them reactive Satanists, the people that were going on being like, I'm the reverend of the Church of Satan in their lives as musicians or artists, and I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to learn the same thing because this is fucking cool. And I'd been watching a lot of Star Wars. I wanted to be a Jedi. I figured this was the closest thing to it. So I read through the book. I was very young. And then I decided that in my own mind, I was just going to create my own way of it working for me. And that one of the statements is like, avoid all ingrates and things like that, people that don't respect you. It's very much in life as it is. So the Church of Satan at the time was the only thing that was available, and I got really into Anton LaVey as a person, who he was. Like, I figured he was this great, amazing God as a human.
Definitely an interesting
had a lot of
character.
Flaws.
Yeah, definitely an interesting character.
And I'm not talking bad about him in my book. I'm just stating a fact that somebody like him who didn't get help, that was the product of his family, which is his son, and the downfall to somebody's life. If you don't take those initial steps to really want to change yourself internally, you're going to fail. You're going to decease. And that's unfortunately the story of Anton LaVey in many ways. But we can get into that later. And he's still in many ways a hero to me and a lot of people. I'll never forget that. But Satanism was something that I learned at an early age, which was non-denominational. There is no theocratic oath that you have to sit down and pray to a god or Satan. It's more an atheistic kind of view on things, where it's an idea, whereas, if you get sober, you have something called the pink cloud, a little warm energy device that you follow, and you call that your higher power. And the more you feed into it, the more it gives you, this way to succeed. I figured that Satanism was the same way. Like, it was just something that would, be along those lines. And it was an esoteric way of doing that. So I started reading things like Crowley and trying to contact a being that Crowley had supposedly contacted, because I was very much into UFOs.
Yeah.
And very much into the X-Files.
Sure.
And so these are things that go through a kid's mind. And
how old were you at this time frame?
Late teenage years.
Okay.
Into my early 20s, especially when I started cooking again, cooking for the first time. Previously, when I was 15 years old, I worked at D'Angelo's.
Okay.
Slinging, I didn't know that there was this whole other world.
Yeah.
So you kind of follow your own statements as a chef, and you're not getting down on your knees and praying to a deity at the end of the day to carry you through your fucking service. You are doing this on your own. That's where I see Satanism. It's very much the same way. You're kind of like the rebel of society in many ways. Like, you can feel that way if you want. You can also treat yourself as the most professional person that you could ever achieve to be, which is what I do. Satanism to me is a combination of all those things, and it was something I went with. So, that's...
So it's like you said, it's like a non-theistic view. It's
correct.
So, but there's obviously other kind of forms of Satanism where it does have more of a theistic viewpoint, or is there? Like, I don't know. But
I can tell you over a period of time that there have been.
Yeah.
Mostly back in like the 1600s.
Okay.
People had done paganism. People had practiced paganism. And people started doing things like Satanism. They were immediately prosecuted. Basically, they were doing theater acts with goat heads and things like that, and fake sacrifices, and they were immediately prosecuted by I I don't know, the king of France or something like that. And that's something that's been going on for a long time. The church has always wanted to own every single country, you know, the Church of England, for an example, and Massachusetts, mostly Catholic Church, you know. So you have that way of thinking where people think that abide by those religions, that everybody that worships Satanism or thinks about Satanism is worshiping a devil. A lot of that is anti-Semitic thinking and made up in part to Judaism. The roots of Judaism talk a lot of things, you know, that I can't take them off the top of my head right now.
Yeah, sure.
But, you know, that Crowley even ripped off and put into his own writings. And I think that that's the misconception about Satanism.
Okay. So so it sounds like it's more like a philosophy and like guiding principles?
Correct.
Like almost psychology or...
100%.
Okay.
Mind control in many ways, getting people to realize that they're not tied down to a deity, that when they take something like a sip of water, they're not taking it for a god, or if they do something on a daily basis, it's not going to get them into a place after they pass.
So how do things like you said, and this is just me asking, like, and probably it doesn't in your worldview, but in the general population, people, when they think of Satanism, they're thinking of like, you know, like rituals to like demons or things like that. How does that play into the worldview of like a Satanist? Like you guys like just doesn't, or like where do those things fall? Like, because like
Imagery.
It's just imagery.
Reactive Satanism. Reactive Satanism could be, well, there's earlier things. William Blake, the writings of William Blake, the paintings of William Blake, those coming out, those were considered terrifying at the time.
Yeah.
This guy's trying to be reactive, to get a reaction out of people. Someone once said that that's a way to get attention. We see people doing that in politics all the time, whether it's a Democrat or Republican. Somebody's going to say something that's fucked up, and they're going to get clicks. They're going to get likes. They're going to get views. Somebody's going to buy their shit. They're going to make money. So a lot of Satanism is made up of bullshit.
Okay. Yeah, so it's just a lot of imagery.
100% imagery to shock people. And the Freemasons use imagery all the time in the way their whole structure is simulated. So think about it like that. Like you're doing a ritual, which is more of a way to show your companionship to everybody else around you and help somebody get through a problem that they're having internally. Okay. It's a way to release those internal struggles and move on.
Sure. So
there's that. And as far as using Satanism as a weapon, we could talk about that later. But Satanism's imagery is fucking cool. Because, you know, it's fucking cool.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's misconceived.
Yeah, and that's what I was, trying to get at, because, just to try and understand even personally, because, like I said, I don't know much about it. But, you do see things. So, like, where would, for you, right, just instance, like, things that are, because we were talking about this later, in the world of the paranormal, whether it's possession or ghosts or things like that, is there like a satanic view on what that stuff is, or is it just like that doesn't even exist, or like, you know what I mean? And I know I can't lump it all together. Like cryptids is a different thing than like a ghost versus a poltergeist, or versus like a demonic possession or something.
As long as it's not looked through the eyes of Satanism or through an eyes of a theistic sense, it's fine in my own. If it's scientific, it's fine. If UFOs are real. I hate to say it. I love that shit. I love that shit since the fucking beginning, dude.
Yeah.
But a lot of it does have right-wing fundamentalist, ways of talking, and I can get into that with you too.
Sure. I'm just trying to understand it all, and let you bring it out so that people, if I don't understand it, many of the listeners probably don't either, unless they're already involved in some kind of satanic situation,
100%. I think we can look at something as an example. The book, The Elders of Zion. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah, so like that book came out, all of a sudden people are like, wow, the Jews are terrible people. They're really into this shit. People believed it.
Yeah.
Enough that it would cause, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
That's the danger of voice and speech and saying things.
Or printing it, and then it looks more real when it's in print.
100%. So Satanism is just people wanting to do these things, these rituals with the imagery of Satanism in many ways, because it makes them, they believe in it. But it's not about sacrificing something for a demon. There's no demon that they believe is going to come out of the ground. It's the same thing with UFOs. Like, you can't do a lot of rituals to get UFOs to appear. UFOs just fucking appear.
Yeah. It's like weird because, there's like this thread and the UFO kind of, or alien phenomenon is like kind of like come around a little more where like people aren't saying, oh, it's extraterrestrials from another planet. Now it's like more of an interdimensional thing.
100%.
Or like it's just classified as some like non-human intelligence. There's something like whether it exists here, another dimension, or another planet. And, people aren't sure, you know what I mean? But, and it gets tied in. Sometimes that gets tied into demons or angels, right? Like
it does.
Or, a lot of times it does. Like, and it's like, is there like do you have a personal perspective on that? Or is there like there wouldn't even, sounds like it wouldn't even, through the Satanic Church, there wouldn't even be a perspective on that, right? Because no one's looking at it in any theistic type way. But for you personally, where's your, because I know you've been into this for a long time, like where's your thinking? And I know you've done work with a lot of people in the UFO world, but what's your thinking on this stuff? Like, and to me, I'm like, it could be any of it, right? It could be all of it.
Extreme racism.
What's that?
Well, things like Ancient Aliens is a great example, saying that, oh, they looked at all these things and it must have been aliens that helped them build this thing.
Okay.
There's no way that they could have done that. That's basically saying that an indigenous population couldn't be smart enough to create something.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. Maybe they did create that on their own.
Well, there's
People
a lot of
talking about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of theories now that people had a different intelligence back then. We
peaked at that intelligence.
There was technologies that we still don't understand at play, which you can see physical evidence of, like the way some of the stone was cut, and like in some of these pyramids or structures, like such precision, or it looks like the rock was just melted into place and things. But that something happened and those societies died off, and we lost that knowledge, and then now this is a new iteration, and there's the thought that there could have been multiple advanced civilizations on Earth through the lifespan of since the Earth has existed, and people are trying to show evidence of that, or even evidence that like the things that we think were couple thousand years old are actually significantly older, like the pyramids and stuff.
100%. I think that technology peaked in a lot of civilizations over time.
Yeah.
So you can't give somebody each and every single civilization that was on the planet might have created some kind of mechanism or something like that. That's really amazing. Why isn't it being talked about? Because the way that other countries that are, have conducted themselves with those countries. Slavery is a good example of that. There's no way these people could have created something amazing on their own that they had. A motorcycle. They had their own version of it, somebody did, let's say, but there's no way they're that smart. They're ingrates. That's why we need to take them and sell them to people here in America too, and make money off of that, the whole slave trade.
Yeah.
It's the idea that we can just come over here and wipe out the entire population of indigenous people and then make them go to church and believe in a God. I think that's all tied into that. And there's that world of UFOs that nobody's really talking about because it's fucked up and it gives the church more money. That's all it's doing.
What? Because people are reactive like that, worried of like why like how would people think people's thoughts about UFOs tie into people's support of the church?
You know, example would be the Church of England.
Okay.
Church, you know, they owned South Africa.
Okay.
And until apartheid ended, you know, anything that was going on with the indigenous people there, they were concerned that it was, as far as they were concerned, they weren't able to create anything good. They didn't do anything, you know, they're worthless. That's their way of saying that we can take their fucking land and tax them and make money off of them. So that feeds into that narrative that the church has really gone with, and including governments. And that's not talked about in the UFO community. People aren't talking about science-based facts.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, it's wild. There's so much out there. My whole thing is, you know, what's interesting to me that I would love to have people do more investigations in, and there is to some extent, but, you know, the whole idea of pyramids and how they're in, you know, the slight differences, but by and large, you know, there's pyramids all over the world, and they're finding new ones that they won't uncover on purpose. Like that, what was it? Like, where's the one? It was like Russia or something, where there's still one that's covered, but they've done some research and some digging, and they're like, yeah, there's a pyramid under there, but we're not going to uncover it.
I think there's a simple explanation to that, is that the world was already connected back in those days, and there's no way for an indigenous population like the Mayans to be able to figure out how to contact somebody in Egypt. Maybe that's being suppressed from us. Why? Because both those countries got invaded. One got invaded by Spain, the other one got invaded by England, and they took over every single population, and they wiped them out. So you can't look at this whole world, which is built thousands and thousands of years ago, and say, these people weren't all communicating in some sort of a way. They had found their way across the ocean. They had communicated. They had worked together in in trade routes with each other. They were making money back then. But you know what? We're just going to wipe out all that history and say that they were dumb and they couldn't do that. Yeah, it's bananas to think about, though, because, like, you know, you look at, you know, Central and South American pyramids, and you look at like Asian, you know, like, you know, and, you know, then obviously like, you know, the ones in the Great Pyramids in Egypt and stuff. And it's like, what the hell was going on, man? I can't believe no one's doing more investigation into this. You know, there's all kinds of people theorizing, but I can't believe that there isn't more like serious government funded. Well, I can, but you know what I mean? Like, but more like literal funded, real scientific kind of exploration of this stuff. It's bananas. Like and you know, even where the pyramids lie and how they're set up, like there's so much craziness around that. Like they align with certain, constellations, or like they're on like certain like ley lines of land and things, and like where they're located and how they're laid out. Like there was either it's like the greatest happenstance, or it was the most planned thing ever. You know? They were just as intelligent as we are nowadays, or more. And they didn't have things like cell phones and cell phone towers. They communicated and had trade routes, and they all made money off of each other. And they saw things in the sky which inspired them to build things. And maybe the things in the sky were interacting with them more because they didn't have the technology to turn on a TV and have, you know, wires all over the place that's being funded by an electric company that's making money off of burning fossil fuels from one of those fucking countries that's brought here. And, you know, it's all bullshit. That's all it is. It's all for the human existence to believe a narrative which has already existed. What happened to people? Devastation, you know, earthquakes. People invaded those places. They killed thousands of people. It's like, the easy way to say it is, okay, the Mayans were connected with ancient astronauts, and they built all these things to worship them. And then you look at something like I think it was the Mexican government that came out with those fake bodies from Peru. And those are all dug up bones from indigenous populations in that one area that were reconstructed from children's bones into little creatures. People believe that they're ETs. And it's like funding the same bullshit.
What do you think of like the Practice skulls and stuff like that? Do you think that was just indigenous like head wrapping, or do you think there was kind of more to that?
Well,
because it's weird it's hard to parse out the real science, because they're like, you see some things, well, they studied it and
that's something I don't know about.
But
I can tell you that people were doing that shit, just like they stretch out their earlobes here.
Or their necks. All kinds of shit.
People doing crazy things to their bodies and body modification. I think that maybe somebody if there are interdimensional beings or extraterrestrials that looked like that, maybe they wanted to look like that.
Emulated or something.
Maybe that's the case right there, because everybody's tested these bones and they all come back positive as being human. So,
because that's what I'm saying. Because some people say, "Oh no, the skulls." Some of them came back and saying it wasn't human, or vice, whatever. And it's like it's hard to. The problem in this day and age is that there's too much information, and it's too hard to get actual information. Because you could just, you could say whatever you want and type it up and make it look official, and photocopy something 30 times and make it look old and crinkly and cross a couple things out and be like, I came across this document and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the problem with everything today.
It really is. And you look at it like this. The Church of England was in control of this narrative until like 1775 in America. So they wanted to control this whole thing. They invaded all these countries. They took over their technology. They suppressed them. So give people a reason to enslave people. A lot of these people did that shit. It's all about them making money and not about facts. Things like crashed vehicles and stuff like that. Let's shut that up. But let's make up a scenario that, these cultures could have never really like created a fucking badass, hog over here on their own. This, something had help them, but let's not tell the public that they even created that until we release this information to the public about extraterrestrials. So I think that might be the scariest thing to think about with disclosure that's going on as far as religion is concerned. People are going to believe whatever the narrative tells them. So if they come out and they say something exactly different, like, well, actually, these indigenous cultures that were raided and all this stuff, they actually weren't smart enough to interact with each other and create things like that. They were all taught to do that by ETs. ETs have been around forever. Give us your fucking money. We need to go drill a hole in the ground and get more oil out of where you are. So I think a lot of that is truth. And I think if there is some kind of disclosure on this whole thing, people are going to be shocked and confused. And there is going to be a narrative push that this is like that this is your religion. This is what your religion is based off of. But I know people that have been involved. See, I don't believe in really a deity after life, What I believe is my own personal beliefs, and they revolve around energy and sources like that. So that's just personally, and I could talk about that forever. But as far as I'm concerned, telling people that somebody is not smart enough to create something unless they had an intervention that helps the world feel calm and know and believe that, Jesus isn't real, but there's people in the UFO community that are Catholics. They're devout Catholics, but they still know the secrets of what's going on. Couple people that I've talked to, they're like, yeah, we know that there's multiple things, multiple civilizations, as you can call it, or beings probably visiting us, but I'm still a Catholic. I still believe in that. Or so I don't see this ending very, very well for people.
Yeah, I think, and this might be what you're saying, is like, no matter what it is, whether it's spiritual beliefs, beliefs in whether it's extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or non-human intelligences, or just traditional religious beliefs, human greed fucks it all up.
It does.
You know what I mean? Because you don't know what the real story is, right? Because it's like, were we in contact with others, entities or civilization? Not when I say entities, I mean non-human intelligences at some point in life, or were people just so smart and in tune with things? Were we smart enough that we contacted them and they came through a door, right? Like who knows what happened? Because there's no record of that history or that time.
Or they've always been here, and we were able to contact them through things like meditation.
Sure, like it's another dimension in this type of space. Like, but it's like.
But don't meditate. Get on your knees and pray to a God and hum.
Yeah, sure.
That's the best way you're going to get in touch with Jesus. He's going to touch He's going to tickle your butthole. Don't worry.
Yeah, or whatever whatever prophet you believe in. And it's dark, really bizarre because it's like, because not only that, it's like, who else has a stake in this? Energy companies, like global. Jack's on a mission.
He is.
You got energy companies, multinational corporations, the real power structure nowadays, like, military industrial complex, like, military contractors and defense contractors, and the people who, if there is a craft, who allegedly have that craft and are reverse engineering it, and things like that. It's like, well, no, it's like you said, whatever the story is that comes out, like everyone's gonna have to take it all with a grain of salt. Like, but it's like when the government is getting ready is saying, oh yeah, there's, we have video that we can't explain, or government contractors, government contractors saying, yeah, we have craft that aren't of this world, and not explaining what that means. It's a really weird time because you want to be like, what's the angle, man? You know what I mean? Like what kind of bullshit are they gonna push through? What do you got, buddy?
He's got something in his mouth. Jack, come here. And you know what's going to happen?
There's a lot of interesting but potentially dangerous things on the floor of this shop. So yeah, if we gotta,
he'll be fine. Whatever. Yeah. But you can. Sorry, I am listening to you.
Yeah. Oh no, of course. But yeah, I know it's just a bizarre. There's a lot of weird things at play that make it hard to find out what the real deal is. You
could look at the basics. I mean, how do we get around? Through fucking putting gasoline in our cars. Yeah. Right? So what if there was a device that could create its own energy and it could power a house and it only costs a couple $100 to make? What the fuck would that do to all the electric company?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's like, there's too much corporate, there's too much money and control on the board. You know what I mean? Like, because they even get into things like with like, these energy sources, alternative energy sources that could power cities for free. Like, no company is invested in that. No one wants that. You know what I mean? Like,
no one has.
Electric company, oil company, gas company. Like, nobody wants to deal with that. And that's the problem, man. With sorry, it's all good. Jack's so awesome.
Jack's amazing.
He's the happiest little dog. His tail has not stopped. He's like, yeah, dude, we're just fucking hanging out.
He's eating shit off the floor. It's fine.
Yeah, you're giving him plenty of treats too. So, where does, like, for you guys?
But I understand where we're all coming from. Is that would destroy the whole fucking world. We'd wonder, like, why did we lie about these things? Why did we lie about these cultures to get over them? Yeah, get into them and drill holes in their fucking ground and take out all their minerals, or fucking rip apart their copper mines and shit like that. Yeah. Or enslave these people. Like, or even it was all a joke. We knew it all along. Fuck you.
Or even the other way, if there was extraterrestrial or interdimensional involvement in human development, why was that kept from us? You know what I mean? It's all of it. All of it is like, they know something we don't, and they're not telling us whether it's something or nothing. Like, because they could just be like, nah, it's none of it. Like, we're just fucking around. Like, we just, you know what I mean? Like,
it's the same thing with Satanism.
If they're fucking around, it's obviously for a reason. It's power and control and money. You know what I mean? But
it really is. It's easier to call somebody a devil worshiper and a baby sacrificer than it is to say, well, that person's just very spiritually intact with themselves and has found themselves through something like sobriety, and they're using this as their own vice, and it's helping them. It makes them happy. It makes other people that are like them happy. Yeah. And that's what matters. But we can get into how that's all played into things, including music over the years.
But it's just because you guys use different symbols that it...
Yeah. The pentagram, anything devil related.
What where does Satanism stand on basic things like good and evil? Like, I know that sounds like a really basic question, but like, you know what I mean? Like,
same as me and you, man. Like, if we know somebody is fucked up and they're a danger to kids and people around them, usually that's the same thing. It's like evil. Somebody like Hitler, fucking evil. That's evil. Somebody that's good is somebody that's, kind-hearted, will do something for anybody else. It's the same principle.
I know. I just mean that's one of the misconceptions is that people, Satanists, are in league with evil, right? Like that's
100%.
That's probably the main big misconception, right? Like,
which scares the shit out of me because this is all reflections of the Elders of Zion again.
Yeah, it's
like another level of it, but on a more modern sense, where this is just common sense shit to a lot of people.
Yeah,
and that's scary. That's where you have fascist takeovers and dictators and the loss of life.
Yeah. It's wild stuff, man.
But that's Satanism. Satanism, back in the 80s, Slayer came out. Things like that. King Diamond was on top. Like, all these bands had the pentagram and everything like that. Kids were listening to them at home. The idea of human sacrifice and stuff like that came from, like things like Texas. There were rituals that took place through a lot of these, cartel groups, people down there, and they simulated sometimes, a satanic ritual. The same thing has happened at fucking colleges that are Ivy League. You're going into a fraternity and you're going to be a brother. They'll simulate a satanic sacrifice. They'll actually make you like cut open a chicken, and it's fucking funny. But it's not real. Those people are probably, believing in a deity. It's still non-theistic. It's just like an act.
Yeah.
So let's find a way to make us money. And that's when Satanism became mainstream as a satanic panic.
Yeah.
And that's when the doctors started getting involved. A lot of therapists that were quickly licensed through unaccredited universities, they somehow found loopholes in the system to get their medical license. Jack, what are you eating? What is that?
Let me go see what that is.
What the fuck is that? What is that?
Oh, you know what that is? That is a cut off piece of that's an extra little piece of the glass, a fiberglass. Yeah, he should not be eating that, so that's why I took that away.
Jesus Christ,
he did not like that, but that's
Jack. Come here. This is the best interview I've ever heard in my life.
Fucking Jack. Look at him. He's sitting there smiling. But yeah, so I think we're saying is like Satanism kind of got a bad rap because some people who might not have been psychologically or mentally healthy did some stuff in the name of that because they heard some 100%. Stuff on a record, and it just the whole panic part of it took off from there. Because we even had that here in Freetown, like where there was like satanic cults, like operating
teenagers listening to Judas Priest. Or that kid that listened to what's that song by Ozzy? He listened to it backwards and I thought he said, get the gun, shoot.
Yeah.
But he's saying it in the song. He was telling it to him, so he took a fucking shotgun to his own face. Things like that. The pharmaceutical world and doctors, these unaccredited people. Jack, get over here. They use that to prescribe medications to people that they were making money off of. And one of those things that I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. He's very obsessed with, because it does look like a dog toy. So
it does.
That's why. Yeah.
False memory syndrome. That's a great example. Or, dissociative identity disorder. Now, dissociative identity disorder has been around since people really got focused on when people came back from the Vietnam War. They had PTSD so bad, and they were trying to be members of society when the world was changing, and it was the 60s and 70s. Everyone was fucking each other naked everywhere and weird shit, fun stuff. But then they had to find a way to weaponize that. Sorry, I keep getting distracted by my dog.
Yeah.
He's got something else in his mouth. I'm going to put him in the other room if that's okay.
Yeah, you know what? I have a little pen over here for Freya.
You do?
Yeah, we can put him in there. Let me just pause this. All right, we're back. You had to go let Jack out a little bit.
We did. He was starting to get a little nosy.
Little nosy. But yeah, he's a good boy, though. He's a good boy.
He's a really good boy.
Yeah, he stands right here. Yeah, he knows we're talking about him.
He does.
Yeah. But yeah, so we were just talking a little bit about the, I think before we signed off here for a second, we were talking about the satanic panic stuff and how that kind of furthered maybe modern misconceptions of Satanism, at least in the regards to the Church of Satan
So
part of it.
we could Baudelaire. You ever heard of him? Flowers of Evil, wrote the Flowers of Evil. So that came out.
I've heard of it. I'm not familiar with it. Yeah.
That's like a shock rocker at its time.
Yeah.
Reactive Satanist, as you call it. So in the music industry, we had people like Ozzy,
Yeah.
King Diamond, all these people. This is what the public saw. And the public saw a guy bite the head off a bat. So some kids probably emulated it.
Yeah, yeah,
it was fucking awesome at the time. I've seen him play, I don't even know. But the idea of that, when kids were growing up Catholic and they're listening to these things, and their parents are like, there's something wrong with my kid, they would send them to these psychotherapists who would misdiagnose them as having dissociative identity disorder. And that turned into, we're going to hypnotize them. And that also affects the world of UFOs. I think that when people were hypnotized by like John Mack, and he says that they were abducted,
Yeah.
it's false memories that he was implanting into their head so he could make money off of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
I've heard that before too, like, because people even say that they think that was going on even as early back as like Benny and Barney Hill and stuff.
Mm-hmm. That might have been the case.
Yeah.
And with them. Now, from what I heard about John Mack, he would go to UFO conferences and get completely fucked up on shit like acid and just like try and like hit on every lady that walked in the door.
Yeah, yeah.
The guy was having a grand time. Of course he was making up bullshit.
Yeah, he wanted to keep the party going.
Exactly. So a lot of these doctors ended up having a yearly thing called the ISSTD, the International Study of Trauma and Disassociation. So you get all of them into a room and they're all making money off of all of these pharmacies, all these kids that are getting overprescribed and told that they have been abducted by cults and they're satanic and they were giving them blood rituals. And it's just a really fucked up thing. And it gets into mainstream culture. And that's when you create a panic. And that's why it was a satanic panic at the time. And it still goes on to this day where there are these people that misdiagnose them, like Dr. Colin Ross of the Ross Institute in Texas. They'll do that. He believed that like fucking laser beams are coming out of his eyes. He's a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. So that combined with a couple of people.
McMartin trial was going on with Geraldo and all that shit. Yeah.
So that compiled with people maybe not being totally pictures of mental health, and it all was kind of like a perfect storm.
100%.
And how did that affect things like within like the satanic world, like the group itself or like the church? Like how did it affect things? Like how does that stuff does it?
I think it opened the doors for Satanism. I think it made Anton LaVey money.
Yeah.
People wanted that book even more. When it came out, people were really interested. It's a fun new thing, but they weren't talking about satanic cults back then. It was like Jane Mansfield and Sammy Davis Jr. coming out publicly saying, "Whoa, we love the Church of Satan."
Yeah.
And they're in this like kind of retro atomic age kind of world where, you know, it was like mid-century, and then it switched to that around the 1980s.
Yeah.
Like Motley Crue was coming out and Iron Maiden. All of a sudden, that was the narrative of the world.
Yeah.
So that's when I started getting into it, was in the 90s, because I'm like, this thing is fucking taboo. It's cool. I'm reading about this in like Time magazine or something, or seeing it on Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
It's fucking interesting. I'm going to, you know, there's rockers coming out saying they're reverends of the Church of Satan. This is fucking cool. I'm going to do this. So that's how I ended up getting involved in Satanism. It's through watching reactive Satanists talk about it publicly.
Yeah.
And we don't know if they privately practiced it or not. They were just tagging it onto their world.
They were just adopting it, or just saying it.
Yeah, like Damianda Gallus, the performance artist from New York. You know, she did The Linities of Satan, which is a poem written by Baudelaire, I think. And things like that, you know?
Yeah. Because it is interesting, kind of what you're saying, too, is if you look at it, you know, in Anton LaVey's time, it was a little, I'm not saying goofy, but it was campy. Like, it was a lot of showmanship.
Yeah, it was.
Fun, it was funny.
It was
like,
theatrical.
It was theatrical. And then when, you know, things like death metal and stuff came out, like, that world, it seemed like a little more intense and darker.
It did.
And violent versus, like, just... like kind of campy, you know, like, but he was like a showman, right? Like,
He's a showman.
Yeah.
You know, he was the dark black pope.
Yeah.
The biggest Satanist in the world.
Yeah. And like you were saying, it was like, he had no end of like Hollywood celebrities that were hanging out and
All the time until the Satanic Panic really hit. And it wasn't until like the murders of Richard Ramirez that's when Satanism started to get looked at as, well, there's this guy, he's a terrible fucking creepy serial killer. He's got pentagram on his hands. Yeah, this is what our kids are going to turn into if they keep listening to this.
Yeah.
And even he went and visited the Church of Satan, apparently. He was waiting, and he wouldn't stop until Anton LaVey came out and talked to him, apparently. I heard different versions of the story. I'm sure Zandora can confirm them all with you.
yeah.
Some people say it never happened, or he came out with a fucking shotgun and say, "Get the fuck out of here!
Yeah.
I don't know who you are." Because he did that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like, you know, like,
Well, you know, something like that, you know, it's going to attract all kinds of people, right? Mm-hmm. Some more stable than others.
exactly, a lot of unstable people. I found out later that I'm actually stable,
But like,
believe it or not.
So in the Church of Satan, like when stuff like that happens, when there is like serial killers claiming Satanism and stuff, like, how is it? Like, do you guys? Is it like, fuck, we got to deal with this now? Like, or is it like something like you guys just obviously disassociate with that, or like how?
100%. The Satanic Temple will usually make a statement on Twitter.
Yeah.
Lucian will make a statement being like, "This is absolute fucking bullshit." You know, he'll go on a show and he'll talk about it, or
Yeah.
something like that. As an example, like Satanism is sticking up for itself.
Yeah.
We don't need to go back into that way of thinking. And there's still places that you can go to in the United States where it's like, if you aren't into God, you know.
Yeah. Well, so like with the temple, I mean, is there like a revival? There seems like there's some kind of, I don't know if revival is the right word, but like, there seems to be growing interest in Satanism. Like, cause like, I see those stickers, like I was telling you earlier, I see the stickers for that temple like everywhere. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, is there something like, are you guys seeing like a lot of growth, and what do you think is contributing to that?
I think the people are really resonating their feelings with the Satanic Temple, and they're starting to believe in, you know, a lot of the tenets that are being said as well. And a lot of the reproductive rights campaigns that are going on is definitely what's up. You know, it's fucked up. We're living in a culture where that was like Roe versus Wade was a fucking law was passed. Now it's being reversed. What else is going to be reversed on us? You know, why are you taking something away that was already given to us is not a gift, but a way of human life? You know, why do that? This is not right when you take that away. what the fuck is next?
Well, there's a lot of there's no shortage of liberties that are being infringed upon nowadays.
I know.
And it's like incrementally a little bit more and more. There's, how much free speech is there really? You know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, there's free speech, but you could be censored or banned for saying things. There's all kinds of liberty backtracking going.
Yeah, there really is.
But so, how did you get involved, as being a kid who picks up a Satanic Bible? Like, how did you go about getting involved into, like, getting more active within like, I guess for the church, you know what I mean? Like, it's because I know you've been involved in it for a long time, and I know for a while you were very tight with Anton LaVey's grandson Stanton, and things like that. But like, how did you go about for being some kid in Massachusetts that picked up the Bible, the Satanic Bible from Anton LaVey, to being someone that is actively involved in the organization of it?
Yeah. So MySpace,
Yeah.
but also the thing is when Anton died, the Church of Satan technically died, and it got bought out, and it became just a symbol. I never wanted to pay the fucking dues to get the little membership card. I didn't care about that. I cared about, what the Church of Satan represented. Especially in the beginning, I thought that was fucking amazing. And the imagery of it, the shock value of it, the reactiveness to people. So through several different people, a friend of mine, I ended up meeting Stanton and Zandora. Zandora is one of my best friends. So we ended up, because we're the same age, all becoming like inseparable. And they both, mostly her, it was her who wanted this to become a thing again, like the old school LaVey Satanism, the imagery of it, the mid-century modernist kind of imagery, Jane Mansfield's and Sammy Davis Jr.'s bringing that back, with new kind of artists and stuff like that. But it was also a way to say fuck you to the Satanic Panic, because the Satanic Panic had destroyed any imagery of Satanism. So this is an early precursor to something like the Satanic Temple. So that's what we were trying to create at the time, and try and help people that were going through things that could want to go learn about Satanism in a safe environment. And that's something that I think Stanton could not provide, which is why I wanted to distance myself 100% from that guy.
Yeah.
And I found that to be more dangerous than the most dangerous dude I know on the streets, because that way of thinking is a way to get people hurt, innocent people hurt. You don't need a leader being like that in the world.
Yeah.
And when I eventually started wanting to come up with this idea of doing a fucking crazy production, it was originally called something stupid like Black Arches or something like that. I'm sure you read about that in the book.
Yeah.
But then it became like this tribute to evil thing. And the tribute to evil thing was something that, like, based off of that, Zandora and Stanton and me kind of came up with. And that's how we had this event. It was this event on Hollywood Boulevard at the Fonda Theater on June 6, 2006. We sold the fucking place out, even beyond capacity, because everybody in LA wanted to get in that didn't have to buy a ticket, because you just walk in the back door if you knew somebody,
Yeah.
So there was like 2,000-3,000 fucking people crammed into this building, into the lobby and all this shit. It was insane. Upstairs, the balcony upstairs. It was really fucking wild party.
Yeah.
And I had to separate myself from Stanton shortly after that, because I started to notice the worst side of somebody, and I did not want that worst side being in charge or giving into the world of Satanism. I had to step back and be like, I can't fucking do this. No. Yeah. And I left my whole life out there to come back here to start over again. And I had already done that several times at restaurants. So it wasn't as hard as people think.
Yeah. But that's kind of a theme that's kind of run through your life, right? Like,
it is
having to restart and get someplace, and then not, whether. I'm sorry, I'm looking at him.
Oh, he's fine.
Yeah, he's digging out under one of the motorcycle tires. I'm like,
Yeah, what are you eating?
He doesn't like that.
He ate a nail.
Oh, yeah. Bro, that's no good.
Yeah. He didn't eat anything bad.
No, I didn't see him swallow. He just grabbed it right when you.
I know.
You got it. So, but he was trying hard to get it. I was like, what is he getting over there? But yeah, man, it's something you've had to work your way up and start over, and but you've. I'm sorry. I just got derailed. So I'm sorry.
Me too.
poor dude. Fucking look at him though. He wants it. He wants it back.
He's not getting it back.
You can't have that, dude.
Lay down.
What's the matter with you?
Lay down, baby. Come on.
But yeah, man. So, Satanic Chef. What? You got a book, right? I
did.
You got 2 books. Well, you got one kind of your life story and one that's a satanic cookbook. What constitutes a satanic cookbook?
Bringing all those ideologies into a kitchen, wanting to have fucking fun with it, wanting to have fun with it professionally. When I run my kitchen, I am not like the character you see. I'm very quiet. I treat people exactly how I was treated, but with a lot more compassion. I'm smiling. I don't yell at people. I'm not into that shit. That's how you lose people.
Sure.
I'm strict, professional, and that's how I deal with my clients. And I own a catering company and do private dinners all around New England and beyond. So I think that I'm having fun with it, with the cookbook, and I'm doing things that are fun, like lighting Bibles on fire and coming up with ideas that I've done after doing maybe a satanic ritual at my house throughout the pandemic, fun shit like that. And that's how it became a satanic cookbook. And that's how the Satanic Chef was built. I knew this was going to be a character that just did demonstrations and fun things like that. But I am essentially living the character's life.
Yeah.
In a safe, definitely in a non-toxic way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially with the sobriety that I have. So that is definitely where the Satanic Chef comes into play. Now, the whole idea of the Satanic Chef doing these things came about when I lost my job. I was working at this amazing place. If anybody's in Cambridge, go to Revival. Nookie, the chef, he was a friend of mine. I was working for him. It was like, you can use our facility for your cool events that you got going on. And then COVID started and I lost my job. Yeah. And it was a perfect job. It was a 9-to-5. So I had to get creative and I started doing these videos, filming them with a friend of mine that worked there. And then we started editing them down and put them out on the satanictemple.tv, which is their streaming web service. Yeah. And I started doing live events through them where we would have an online event. People would log in because it's fucking COVID. People wanted to see that. And they all interact with each other in other rooms of this thing that they built called the Estate. It was fucking amazing. Yeah. And it was like, I'm actually performing in front of an audience.
So you're putting on a cooking show, but with a little bit of pageantry around it.
Exactly. I'm building up my whole kitchen. So it's got cool shit around and I've got a drape that goes over the front door and I got intro music that comes out like a fucking pro wrestler and light a Bible on fire and do a cooking demonstration. And it really came into something fucking awesome. I love doing that shit.
So, because I know people are going to ask, but when you light a Bible on fire, what does that represent to you? For what's the kind of the reasoning for that for you?
For me?
Yeah.
So living in a world of pluralism, because they want to take something away from that. We all need to coexist as one. Why just have it be one thing? And unfortunately, the right conservative movement is so brainwashed that they want to help the church even more than they want to help themselves and other people. So you see a lot of that happening in politics nowadays. And it's fucking surprising it's even happening now. This is shit that people were talking about back in the 80s and 90s. It's like we're going backwards in time as a society. And even if there was something out there that's watching us, imagine what they're fucking saying. They're like, yeah, you guys are backtracking.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We're not going to help you with anything.
Something extraterrestrial or interdimensional if they're watching us.
Yeah, and that's a scientific way of thinking. If there's a higher intelligence, why help this people? It was the same way with cultures. You have a more technological culture looking at another culture. Why help them? They're running around a fire.
Yeah. They're dangerous.
They're dangerous. It's common sense knowledge. And that's where being a Satanism fuels that. I want to stand up for those rights that people deserve to have and live in a pluralistic society. Yeah. It's what we want.
So quickly, I don't know if we answered this, like, your just gut reaction or gut instinct, do you think, the things we classify as non-human intelligence, do you think it's extraterrestrial or interdimensional or something else that's here? Like, what's your personal take on it? Just curious.
I have no idea.
No idea. Yeah. That's how I am. I'm like,
what is this? Could it have been a supercomputer that was built thousands of years ago by a civilization that was around? And this is like the aspects of it. Is it interdimensional? Is it extraterrestrial?
Yeah.
I tend to want to believe it's something otherworldly.
Have you ever contacted anything like during meditation? Because I know, like, there's things now like where it's like not even attached to any specific religious event, but I know, like people talk about DMT and talking to some kind of entity when they're on DMT, or even like, like Buddhist monks go someplace or talk to other entities when they're at a certain level of meditation. It's almost like a DMT or mushroom trip. You know what I mean?
Right, because they're stimulating their pineal gland, which helps them, which is also what really kicks in when they start to die, and it flashes their entire life in front of them. So you're essentially having a near-death experience when you go through that, and people think that your consciousness somehow is being able to leave your body through that. It might be true. I don't personally want to, I personally, my own personal beliefs about that, yeah, sure. It probably might be, because meditation and consciousness is a lot more powerful than using technology or even shooting a gun. And as a culture, we're taught not to evolve using that. I wasn't taught to meditate growing up. The first time I did it was in karate.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this?
No, but I'm saying for you, have you ever like meditated with, or, I know you said you had at some point, like in your books, that you did some ritual to try and contact entities, but have you ever, and even I think off topic, I mean, not off topic, but I think even I think when we were at Jimmy's wake, you had mentioned, we talked about CE5 really quick or something, but like, have you ever been in contact with some other intelligence, like through meditative or some kind of ritualistic means?
I've had experiences that I can't explain.
Yeah.
I have gone outside and seen things in the sky and videotaped it afterwards and been like, holy shit, this could be real. And if it's something as simple as something like a CE5 meditation, which is a meditation that you use to try and contact other entities, it's the same thing of, meditating on your own. What are you actually contacting? You're contacting another form of your consciousness. The Monroe Institute, as we know, it's very famous for their technique of trying to do astral projection. And the CIA was involved with them back in the 70s, where they would get people to try and do remote viewing.
Yeah.
There's a movie about it.
Yeah, no,
George Clooney.
Yeah. And anyone thinks that that's all weird or conspiracy. I mean, that's all declassified. You know what I mean?
It is.
Like the CIA was involved in all kinds of astral projection, remote viewing, all kinds of things that are typically labeled occult practices. You know what I mean? And all occult means is like secret knowledge or unknown knowledge, or you know what I mean. It doesn't
100%. But it's spiritual.
Yeah.
And Jack's trying to talk about it.
Jack's into it. What do you think, buddy?
He's like, I don't know.
No. but
yeah.
So yeah, and for anyone that when we say CE5, that's in the world of UFOs. That's not a satanic thing.
No, it's not. It's a practice made by a doctor named Dr. Stephen Greer, who came up with it, and he still practices it to this day. And they have an app where you can get guided through it. It's a great guided meditation. Guided meditations are amazing. Yeah. I discovered them during COVID. I had not known about one until I was 40 years old.
Yeah.
Like doing that by myself, like a guided meditation, whether it was online with somebody or something like that, that helped me focus better in the day. It helped me get through my day.
Sure.
People do it all the time, especially endurance runners, people that are bodybuilders, people that are successful. That's That's your spiritual side, and that's a lot different than believing in something, a deity.
Yeah.
I think that's completely fine if you are involved in something like Satanism to do.
Yeah. No, actually, let me ask you this.
It's like martial arts.
Yeah. Just to backtrack a little bit, because I'm sure, because you mentioned a couple times things about like satanic rituals. Like what's typically, and I know it might be different for different things, but what are like some common satanic rituals, and what's kind of involved in that? Because just to, because I'm sure there's like an air of mystery around that, and if maybe misinformation about that for people, because I'm sure people are like, oh, they're sacrificing humans or something for it, but like,
and you know what? The satanic ritual is a ritual that's been written out and tested by other individuals. It could be a destruction ritual, which is my favorite ritual. It's like taking something, writing it down on a piece of paper that you want to forget, and then burning it in a sense where it's ritualistic. Some people might take that and put a more theatrical sense into it, where it's put into a bowl and then dipped in something else and then burned or buried. And that's the way ritual is. It's a way to really erase something like that from your memory. That's important.
So like a bad memory or a traumatic event or something.
This is why I also burn the Bible, because that's a traumatic event for a lot of people.
Sure. And it's, very striking visual for people. Especially like a normal society.
It really is.
Whether someone's a Christian or not, it's probably a pretty striking image, right?
100%. I think that doing a ritual is a good way of helping your mental health. Everyone wants to be tough and be like, I'm going to go into work today and do a 16-hour, get drunk, go back to work the next day. Fuck you. If you don't take time, you don't take a day off, you're fucked. Your work is going to be stressful,
I get that.
You're going to fuck it up. And you're going to be in trouble because you fucked up something for a client. And that's going to cost you a failure.
Yeah.
It's the failure of knowing that you failed and you fucked up. Yeah. Rituals are about not letting that happen to you.
Interesting stuff, man. So you're kind of dipping into that world, whether it's the world of like fine dining, or also the world of like the Church of Satan. Mm-hmm. You've had some good adventures in an interesting life. Like in your book, there's a lot going on, and you've been at all kinds of like interesting events, or like hung with interesting people and stuff. Like, anything else on your journey that like, stories that pop out, or interesting things that you want to share, or things that we didn't talk about?
100%. I got great stories.
I know, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, anything you wanted to talk about that we haven't already hit on? Because, I think we've talked about all kinds of shit, man. We've talked about Satanism. We talked about chef stuff. We've talked about alien stuff.
We have
alternate theories of past human societies, mm-hmm. And more advanced societies.
And notice that nothing I'm believing in is technically paranormal, which is like fairy tale.
Yeah. So we had talked about that real quick earlier. Like,
I also keep those personal beliefs separate from what I do in Satanism. Like,
sure.
It's just.
Because it's personal to you, right?
Yeah, it is.
What were you talking? You had mentioned something earlier about like dispelling like thoughts of like paranormal stuff. You were saying something earlier like that, or when you just said now, like, notice none of this was paranormal. Like, can you
fantasy?
Okay,
fantasy. Like, you watch the X-Files. There's that episode where there's satanic cults and there was a demon inside of somebody.
Just a little closer.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's bullshit. Exorcisms, that's fairy tale shit.
Yeah.
To me, like, what is real there? Someone's just making money off of that. Okay. It's showmanship.
So you don't believe in like demonic possession?
No. It's mean to demons say that. What if it's,
Yeah, no, I'm just curious. Like, what? Like,
you know what I mean? It's like I think that.
Is that like a mental illness?
Demon. I would call it mental illness, untreated mental illness. If somebody is acting like that, you really should take them to a medical professional and not call your priest and have them come over and do something to try and fix them. Because most likely that person is going to end up hurting themselves or somebody else around them at some point of their lives.
Yeah.
And people like that are easily preyed on by a lot of these religions to get them to do things, to donate money to them, to give up their entire fucking houses, you know, and themselves. And that's the sad part about the paranormal world, is that people will believe in that shit. And I think that as a human being, you should really look at the facts.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on like ghosts and things like that?
I mean, personally,
Yeah, personally.
I'm probably going to get in trouble with some people for saying this, but
No, it's fine.
I mean,
I
don't know, but I've seen some shit.
Okay.
I can't explain.
Yeah.
I've seen weird shit. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I can't say that they were past humans or it's a crossover into like another dimension
Sure.
or something. But, you know, paintings or dry erase boards don't just fly off a fucking door and hit the other wall across the hall.
Yeah,
when I'm
yeah.
in college being like, what the fuck did I just see?
Yeah.
Could be, I don't know, an energy portal. I don't know, man. It's just unexplained. It needs to be scientifically proven. But for now, there's a fantasy world of it. And I like watching movies that are based around that. Like I watch horror movies all the time.
Yeah.
I know it's all bullshit.
Yeah. It's entertainment, not science.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's very interesting to me. I didn't realize that how really non-theistic, this branch of Satanism was, you know what I mean? Like, because there's so much imagery that involves, you know what I mean? Like dark things, I guess, for lack of a better word, you know what I mean? Like dark entities.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just that, right? It's
a way of showing compassion to each other around you and getting through your own problems and trying to erase them from your lives a lot of the times.
Yeah.
You know? A lot of us have been through some shit.
Sure.
And we want to forget it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't realize, because it's so tied to like devils and demons and fucking, you know what I mean? Like, and just things like that. It's very interesting that it's not. Are there like kind of rogue branches of Satanism that do get more involved in that stuff? Do you know what I mean? Like
there are. I don't really pay attention to any of them.
Okay.
It's just bullshit to me.
Yeah,
It's all crazy stuff. And it's usually by somebody who's not very mentally stable and they're writing something for attention.
Yeah.
I see a lot of that. And they're usually trolls online.
Sure.
Nobody does stuff in public anymore. They just want to go and comment on somebody's Twitter as something reverend of their own made up church of
something or other.
Satanic buttholes or something like that.
Yeah.
And then people ask me, do you know this person? He's a satanic priest, they say. And I'm like, I don't know who the fuck this person is.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of stuff, a lot of weirdness. What do you? I know you had mentioned something. I think it was in your book. I don't remember if it was in the book or something we talked about, because I've always been interested in the Process Church.
Yeah, the Process Church of the Final Judgment.
Yeah,
Peter
yeah.
Gilmore.
Yeah,
not Peter Gilmore. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
That's the Church of Satan.
Yeah.
Like Timothy Wiley and all those
Yeah.
people. Yeah, they were cool.
Their imagery in their books, that they would put out back in the day, is like their old zines and stuff. Mm-hmm. Crazy. Like the
Fucking wild.
The art is like fucking great.
I love that stuff. Those books go for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah. Oh, the originals.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have like the reprint. Like they got a.
Yeah, and their concept on life is basically like God and Satan are the same thing, and it's the Process Church of the Final Judgment, and they had all the German shepherds and everything like that is their imagery, and George Clinton became friends with them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's so wild. Like again, 60s and 70s, just fucking wild times, man. Like
crazy.
Yeah. But have you ever was there something in your book about that, or did we talk about that? I can't remember. I don't know why it popped in my head.
I believe I talked about the Process Church of the Final Judgment when I met Lucian. Of the Satanic Temple, he was involved in that.
Okay.
Helping try and bring it back in a cool level.
Yeah.
And I was doing the same thing with LaVeyan Satanism, but on a safer level.
Yeah.
And that's how we became friends. I messaged the guy on MySpace because I was flying back to Boston. He called my phone within an hour. We're going bar to bar, partying, and ended up in Chinatown at 4 o'clock in the morning and did it again a couple weeks later. And we were buddies. And then I moved back here, and all my friends had either dispersed or moved away. You know, that's what happens when you grow up.
Yeah.
He was one of the newer people that I met of my new life.
Yeah.
And my new life also consisted of people that I worked with, people that, you know, at Cell de la Terre, they became my family, or at the restaurant I worked at before.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I got to imagine that if you're doing like the work involved in one of those kitchens, especially if you guys are doing like these 17-hour days routinely, there's got to be some kind of bond there that is beyond like a normal regular 9-to-5 job.
100%. It's like a family you joined, and they're there for you and you're there for them. And if something happens in the family, like somebody dies, which has happened before at the restaurant I worked at, we lost a couple people. It's very devastating. It's worse than anything I could tell you. And I've never experienced that in the work setting until that happened. That's shit that they don't teach you at culinary school.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, this is life lessons.
Yeah.
And it's good to work through them, because somebody you know is going to go through the same thing, and you have to be there to help them, just like they have to learn to help somebody else. Just like I'm helping out my dog.
Or your dog's helping you.
Oh, he's definitely helping me out.
Yeah.
He gets me in shape. I walk him around all the time, walking for miles. He's a good boy.
Yeah.
He's a hound, so he gets tired from sniffing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why he's getting all tuckered out. He sniffed everything around.
Yeah, yeah. It's bananas though. Like, what is it? Their sense of smell is 500 times greater than ours.
Like something like 5 million times. They can smell into the ground 40 feet deep into concrete and all that stuff.
Yeah. He's smelling the remnants of that thing we threw away. He keeps jumping up on the table looking for it.
He's obsessed with it.
Yeah. It ain't there, buddy.
This dog is something else.
Yeah. So,
it's, you know, I think a lot of Satanists, they say that they're involved in like animal cruelty and stuff like that's absolutely fucking bullshit. All Satanists I know, most of them have either been vegetarian or vegan, and you know they all love animals. I think anybody that we talk about evil, anybody that treats an animal poorly or hurts something, they're innocent creatures that brought into our lives, and we're here to help them grow and live a wonderful life. And that's evil when people do that.
Sure, but then again, that's part of the. You working the board now, buddy?
He's sniffing the board.
This guy's too much. But I guess that's, again, part of the misconception, right? Like, that it's animal or human sacrifice and blah, 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 and just cruelty and evilness and stuff, or it's...
All animals are created sacred. Even Anton LaVey talked about it. That was one of his most important points. The guy had a fucking lion. Togar.
Yeah. Again, 60s and 70s, the shit you could get away with.
I know. This guy's going to the grocery store with this fucking lion.
Fucking bananas, man. Like, I was born in the wrong period, man. I wish I was like 23 or something in like 1966. You know what I mean? Like,
me too. I kind of wish it now.
Yeah. It's just...
Things were a lot expensive.
The motorcycle world was infinitely cooler. Like, fucking... The world was less was more free, believe it or not. You know what I mean?
It was.
There was less government regulation on every fucking aspect of your life. Like,
a lot more compassionate people back then.
There was a lot more. Yeah, but there was also a lot more fucking dumb shit too. Like,
there was.
But
they regulated it, and that's what ended up happening. That's life in this country, unfortunately.
So what's next, man? You got you always seem to have something.
I'm writing another book. It's called Bafana. It's based off of this fairy tale, an Italian culture of a witch. It usually comes around Christmas time and gives you out treats and stuff like that. And I'd worked in the North End for 3 years. I loved it there, and was all these talks about it over the years, and I fucking love the North End. It's
Oh,
my
yeah,
favorite place to go in Boston. You know,
If you're not from Boston and you're coming to Boston for some reason, go eat in the North End. You can pretty much go anywhere. Just walk down Hanover Street and then just walk around a few block radius and just go in one place. You will not be upset.
100%, especially if you're coming from New York. Their little Italy is a lot different than ours.
Yeah.
Ours is more like preserved.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's like one of the last sections of town that has kind of stayed, hasn't gotten corporatized yet.
It hasn't, because they're,
And they won't. Like, people are dug in there. Like, they ain't going.
Yeah, the business association there, everybody there, the owners, the homeowners associations, all of them, they do not want anything corporate coming in.
It's fucking great.
I love it.
Yeah. Chinatown, some of that's still there.
It is.
But those two sections of town, they're the least gentrified, least corporatized, least, sterilized areas.
100%. I do think that, Alston, it's sad what's going on with the community there, but I think it will bounce back in some sort of a way.
I hope there's a revival of, or not I don't know what the right word is, but there's a rebellion against fucking, gentrification.
I think, the city definitely needs to look at that. They're destroying a lot of the arts.
I mean, Great Scott is a fucking Taco Bell, dude. Like,
it's so fucking weird.
That's the biggest.
I have no idea what's going on there.
It's the biggest slap in the face. You know what I mean? Like, not that I went to a ton of stuff at Great Scott, but it was a good fucking venue. You know what I mean? Like,
it was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's fucking.
You played there. You're playing to your family, your friends. It was your, there was no backstage. Everybody that played there were just,
out and about. Yeah,
out and about. It was a different kind of place. There was no bullshit, ego, rock star shit going on there. It was awesome. It was a different kind of club. I miss it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the problem is, right, is like, if you look at Boston or New York, or most cities, like in the 70s and 80s into the early 90s, there was a lot more grit.
There was.
And that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Like, there was a lot more crime. There was a lot more grit. But there was a lot more personality, or there was a lot more, like, it was cooler. Like, there was more independent small business. It wasn't like every corner was Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, fucking Taco Bell, fucking McDonald's. It was there was a little bit of that, but it wasn't the predominant force. Like, you know what I mean? Like I remember Times Square was sketchy electronic store, liquor store, peep show, porn store, strip club.
Go there at 18. I'm like, what's going on?
And then that again, like, it was just that same thing again, sketchy electronic store.
Yeah.
And then there'd be a dude in a van that was trying to sell you a VCR in a box or a camcorder, and it was just a brick in a box.
Fake watches and all that stuff.
Just fucking shenanigans. And now it's like Planet Hollywood, some Disney fucking store, fucking whatever. And
it's funded by
corporate America.
Yeah, what they want to be moving into those neighborhoods.
Yeah,
with that money, and then the people that do have money that move there go, "This is fucked up. I don't." It's just there needs to be a preservation of that in some sort of a way, protection.
Yeah, well, and we brought up COVID and stuff before, and this is not dealing with the issue and the politics around COVID itself. But and I'm not talking about anything to do with the disease or the vaccines or any of that stuff. But that time period, there's never been a greater transfer of wealth in the whole entirety of human civilization.
It's true.
And people that had money made ungodly amounts of money, and then at the expense of middle and lower class. And
they did.
There's never been a greater divide. There was never been a bigger transfer of wealth. And 45 to plus % of all U.S. small businesses permanently out of business.
It's true. And a lot of billionaires are now 5 times more expensive than they ever were.
Yeah. Well, because, when you say mom and pop stores can't stay open and that people can't get together to see their family on Thanksgiving, but you can go to Walmart on Black Friday, sends a message. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who's the government repping? They ain't repping the people. They're repping you know, who are they beholden to? You know what I mean?
And you see, that's the beauty with growing up is, you know, hoping that we're going to get new people that come into office. Fortunately, they're seeing this happen and make these changes. You know, that's the only thing we can hope for now, man.
Oh, yeah. Is that politicians that actually give a fuck start coming up?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna hold my breath, but I'm gonna hope that happens. You see some good ones. There's a couple of good ones, and they're coming. You know, they're coming on the left and the right. You know what I mean?
They are.
There's good ones on both sides of the fence, and there's shitty ones on. There's way more shitty ones on both sides of the fence than there are good ones, but. Hopefully that the tide turns a little bit because that people start going, all right, enough's enough with all this fucking bullshit. Like, because I feel like we're getting to a breaking point. Like, I don't know if it's just a general feeling or if I just feel that way because I'm stressed the fuck out. But yeah, I don't know.
You don't need to see more of those fucking buildings popping up everywhere. You know?
Yeah.
It just takes away the soul of a city.
Yeah. You don't need a Starbucks on every corner.
No, you don't.
You can walk a couple blocks, or just find a little cafe that some couple or some dude or some woman opened. Go there.
Yeah,
they need your money more than.
That's why I like going out to the suburbs more than hanging out in the city on my days off. I like to go and support small businesses. Go up to Concord a lot.
Yeah,
a cool coffee shop. It's called like hot coffee or something like that. You know, I'll go around. I like doing that. I like helping out small businesses.
Sure.
The city feels a little bit corporate.
Yeah. Know what I liked about what I respected in your book when you were talking about like you'd go to a town or wherever you were, you always made sure like you going out to eat was like doing research.
It was
for your craft.
It was,
and you took it serious and you were like, all right, this is the taste profile of this, and how can I do this or make this better?
Right. Like you go to a town and you eat their version of a roast beef sandwich. And the first thing that comes out, you might say this sucks, but that's just how they've been fucking doing it forever.
Yeah.
So you're eating something really fucking cool.
Yeah.
That's an experience.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to incorporate that into my food.
Yeah.
It's about knowledge.
What was the biggest, like, sorry, I wish we had the video for this because Jack was just sitting there so looking at both of us as we talked, like so into the conversation. Because as soon as we talked about food, he just was sitting there quiet looking. He's like, he knew.
I know.
Motherfucker knew we were talking about food. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I'm into this.
Food-driven dog.
Yeah, look at him. Now he's all over me. Like, as a chef, like, obviously you go to culinary school and you go work in different places. Like how did you learn? Like, what were the biggest lessons? Like, how did you like? What were the biggest? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
Saying this, like,
yeah.
Like, what taught you the most? Was it
me?
Yeah.
I taught myself. I was given a path. I was given the basics to work off of and work with. It's like you go and learn musical theory. That's not going to teach you to become a musician. You have to come up with it on your own. You have to deal with what comes with that. Yeah. So going out, working in the industry, being humble, keeping my head down, my mouth shut was the most important thing. If I, that industry is so fucking brutal. Like even when you were working at a place and you had a certain position, and then the new regime came in, they're like, "Oh, you're demoted, and you're going to still work the same hours, but we're only going to pay you for this many hours." They work.
And it's like, what the fuck, man? Like, how demoralizing can that fucking be? But like you said, you stuck it out and got what you needed from that place, and then
I did.
Went to the next one.
I didn't want to leave that family. There were other people there that relied on me to be there. And I waited until there was something in place.
Yeah.
I see a lot of kids nowadays not doing that repeatedly. That hurts me more. It's when people are like, "Oh, I'm giving my notice, but we really need you. Can you stick around and help us find somebody else?" I've seen that happen.
Oh yeah.
And they're just like, "Yeah, well, my notice is like this weekend, so I'm really sorry I couldn't go."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure, whatever." But then it makes me hurt because I know that person's not passionate and that person doesn't care about even themselves, and they're going to do something to fuck themselves up. And it's now my name on their responsibility because they're going to look back on me as a leader.
Yeah.
Or you.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I didn't, the level of passion in culinary arts is fucking. I never realized it. You know what I mean? It's until reading your book, like, and then a lot of things make sense. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because I worked as like dishwasher and stuff, like in places, but then you see the cooks and it's like, all right, now that all this shit makes sense. Like, I didn't pay attention to it as a dishwasher when I was a kid. You know what I mean? But now owning a bar that has an open kitchen, like, you can see some of that, like, because we have a chef that like is our prep guy, who's semi-retired. Well, he's retired, but he works for us for a few hours, but he's been in the industry 40 years, and his take on things is way different than like a kid we hired. You know what I mean? And we hired people to help us get set up, and they promised us a lot of things, and they walked out the first week, right? You know what I mean? And thought they were going to be irreplaceable, and we had that motherfucker replaced the next day. You know what I mean? But it's still like, you know what I mean? Like, different personalities, different levels of ego and fucking whatnot. And it's a wild world, man.
That's why I look at people and I say, it's time for you to grow. And you're going to have to learn this. Do you want to grow? Do you want to become better? Do you want to become more successful?
Yeah.
You got to go through these things. Now, I'm going to start you off at the beginning, and then we'll move you up. A lot of people think that you're just going to go right to the top.
Yeah. It's like that in a lot of things now, like tattooing. We were talking about this. I was talking this about with Johannes on the last episode. Like, people don't want to do a proper apprenticeship anymore. They just want to start tattooing and own a shop. It's like, bro, you've been tattooing a year and a half, like, and you're opening a shop.
Yeah, I'm quite aware.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. That's not really how it should go. You know what I mean? Like,
it's like they're trend on social media.
Yeah.
I'm not a trend on TikTok as much as these other guys that have never really had experience.
But is that happening in like the culinary industry now?
Yes.
Do you see that more? Like, there's just a more people have this entitlement without work.
A lot of people that decided they like to cook at home, and they come up with a gimmick and a name, and they make themselves something on TikTok and YouTube. I think a lot of them that I watch that do that are awesome.
Yeah.
I think there's also those people that are doing it, monetizing it.
Yeah.
And people are looking up to those people as actual leaders. And that's fucked.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, like I said, like, the thing that's given to you is never respected as much as the thing you earned, like, or appreciated. And, there's a lot of people that trying to circumvent the earning part and just going right to the receiving part of things. And
that's why you have so many people that appear and disappear, because they're only in there for a moment. It's in the music industry too.
Yeah. When the well dries up, they're onto something else.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's a wacky world, man. I think we're gonna have to do another one, man, where we get into some of the wacky stories and the fun stories.
We are,
because this is a little heavy podcast, I think.
Yeah, this is good.
We got a heavy conversation, and we had some comic relief and input from Jack over there.
It's the best thing in the world. I'm actually proud that I brought him.
Yeah, when you were like, "Can I bring my dog?" I'm like, "I don't know, of course." You're like, he can be loud, and I'm like, he's just gonna contribute.
He's just chilling.
He did, yeah.
He's been good. He's not eating anything that can hurt him.
No. He's just investigating around. He just found that one thing that we couldn't let him have. Oh, in the nail. Yeah, he couldn't have the nail. Yeah.
What are you doing? Good boy.
He's interested. He'll sleep well tonight because he's gonna.
He will.
You got
He's hungry.
Overloaded with I don't know. You smashed that bag of bacon treats over there.
Oh, he did.
You might have to deal with some loose stools later.
I know, man. The thing's boning a dog.
Yeah, like I said, yeah. With Grim is 12 and requires a lot of care, man. But
yeah,
don't mind doing it. But it's like,
well, it's good that you're doing that, and you're giving that dog a quality of life that somebody else wouldn't be able to provide.
Yeah,
just like, I don't know if anybody would put up with Jack.
Why, man? He's easy, man. He's good.
He's a good boy.
He's just excited.
He's a very
and he wants attention. And he's like, all right, what are you guys talking to those microphones for? He's like, talk about food again.
Jack, you a good boy? Yes.
Well, so where can people find like, I know you have the cookbook and the kind of like the your autobiography or life story book.
Yep.
Where can people find those?
People can find A Movable Beast. They can find it on Amazon for now.
Yep.
Until I find an actual distributor. I'm working on it. I'm trying to go down that road.
Yeah.
But for now, you can buy it direct through Amazon. And my cookbook, you can go on the SatanicChef.com and buy copies that way. I manually will send it out to you. And the process of that takes about 2 weeks. So be patient.
Yeah, it's not Amazon. If you'd ordered it Monday, don't email them if you don't have it Tuesday afternoon. Relax.
Exactly.
Give it a couple of weeks. It's old school.
You might get something special in the mail, maybe a copy of my book. So A Movable Beast. But, I really hope that story gets out to people.
Yeah.
I want that to help people more than anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very, there's a lot you overcame we didn't get into, like with alcoholism and stuff. And
Yeah.
I've
It's a disease.
Yeah, I've had a few friends be in the exact same boat, and luckily they're all doing well. And it's always good to see a story where it has a good outcome instead of a bad outcome. I was trying to get a picture of him.
Oh, he's a good boy. That's entirely true. I really wish that some people would just take the time to realize how important they are to other people
Yeah, man.
and themselves.
Yeah, because unfortunately we started talking over at an unfortunate situation over at Awake. You know what I mean? Like,
I know we did over a dear friend.
Yeah.
And,
but
if anybody needs to reach out to somebody, you can always try and message me. You can reach out to different groups. There's AA, NA,
just come.
Satanic Sober Faction now through the Satanic Temple. Yeah.
Come talk to Jack.
Talk to Jack.
All right, buddy. All right.
It was good talking to you today. Let's
you
have
too.
a part 2 coming up soon.
Yeah, let's do something. You said you got a new book. How far are you with the new book?
I'm in the beginning stages right now.
So what do you think? Like another year or something?
Probably, yeah. We can do something in between.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And what we'll do is after we get this will come out, and then we'll get some feedback and see what people want to hear more about.
Okay.
Get into some good Danzig stories, man.
Yeah, those are fun.
Yeah.
I think with somebody like Danzig, a lot of people don't see, and I'm just going to say this, is a great leader, and people can learn a lot from that.
Yeah. I think he's getting ready to leave.
I think he's ready to go get his food.
To go. He's like, I'm fucking hungry. Let's do this. Let's wrap this up. So, Instagram, the Satanic Chef.
Satanic Chef Official.
Official, that's right,
Yep.
that's right.
And you can follow Devil Street Food Catering on there too. And you can find my website for catering, devilstreetfoodcatering.com. And you can reach out to me personally and I'll give you a quote.
Okay, and what I'll do is in the show notes, we'll have all that. So you don't have to remember it if you're driving. You just click.
That's my sous chef right there.
Yeah, dude, he's ready. But yeah, man, so I'll have all that in the show notes for people to check out. And thanks a lot for coming on. It was fucking good talk, man. We talked about all kinds of wacky stuff.
We did.
Which is good. And people love that.
And our buddy Jack right here.
Yeah, dude, he's all over my lap while we're talking. He's running back and forth between us.
He's excited. He's ready to go home.
He's ready to go. All right, so on that note, let's wrap this up here.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
I'm a trauma surgeon at Rhode Island Hospital.
I'm a pediatric emergency medicine physician.
I'm the pediatric trauma coordinator.
We see impaired driving crashes every day.
Children who are victims of impaired driving.
Sometimes they're comatose, sometimes they're screaming.
Broken limbs with exposed bones.
Severe pelvic injuries, head trauma.
I actually get angry because it's preventable.
Makes me feel heartbroken. It makes me feel sick.
Don't drive drunk. Don't drive high.
A message from the Injury Prevention Center at Rhode Island Hospital and the Rhode Island Department of Transportation.
Hey y'all, Darius Rucker here. A lot of people ask me, what inspires your music? And one of the big things is a strong sense of place. That's why I love my home state of South Carolina and want to share the awesome things it has to offer. From the beautiful mountains down to the sunny coast, it's got it all. Not to mention two of my personal favorites, great golf and amazing food. Come see why I love this place. Visit discoversouthcarolina.com.
You love podcasts, the stories, the laughs, the unexpected turns. But when this episode ends, the silence starts. Not anymore. Audiobooks.com turns that silence into your next great adventure. With over 450,000 titles, from bestsellers to hidden gems, your love for listening just found its new best friend. And because you already know the joy of audio, we're giving you 3 free audiobooks to start your journey. Imagine your favorite podcast, now with unlimited episodes. That's audiobooks.com. Keep the story going. Sign up for your free trial at audiobooks.com/podcastfree today. Because for podcast lovers like you, the end of an episode is just the beginning. That's audiobooks.com/podcastfree.